Live from Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California, Sports Channel presents New York Mets baseball. Tonight, the Mets battle the San Francisco Giants. Hello again, everybody. I'm Fran Healy along with Rusty Staub, Christopher Mad Dog Russo, and our other colleague, Ralph Kiner, is on assignment tonight. Tonight, the Mets take on the Giants in the second game of this three-game series. Big game here for the Mets because the Atlanta Braves cannot take the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates winning again tonight.
They are. They were ahead 6-3. I'll tell you, Fran, the Pirates are going to play good the rest of the season. They're just a fine ball club. The Mets are going to have to really put it together. It's a very important time during the course of the season. This West Coast trip, they lost the first game. It wasn't a bad pitch game. It wasn't a bad played game. But they have some very tough situations as far as Pittsburgh seems like they've got it together. There's no area that you see a real weakness. Everybody felt like the Pittsburgh bullpen was going to be a weakness, but it hasn't shown that way. The Mets are going to really have to do all the little things correctly. We've talked about that many times. When you do these little things that don't add up in the big statistics, they wind up helping you win ball games. They're going to come head to head. They have a lot of games left with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that's a very important thing for them. And when they get head to head, they're going to have to win some ball games from them.
And it's tough on an East Coast team. When you're out here in the West Coast and your competition's in the East Coast, you look at the scoreboard, you see that the Pirates are winning their ball game. You have to win your ball game here. In order to win a game against the Giants, they have to get a good pitch ball game from David Cone.
David Cone, last time out, did not have a good outing, probably his worst outing of the year. You would expect him to rebound from that. The Giants have played very well. They've won 3 in a row, 6 of the last 9, so the Mets have a task in front of them.
And the Giants hope to get a well-pitched ball game from John Burkett. It's interesting. John Burkett, a bowler, throws over the top of the baseball.
I don't know what to tell you about. He must be working with Mad Dog.
Well, keep in mind, Christopher Mad Dog Russo will join us in the 4th inning here at Candlestick Park. Talk about Candlestick Park. Christopher Russo, I guess, said it all. He said it's a dump.
Well, it's always been one of the more difficult ballparks to play in. As a hitter, you never like to come here. The day games are much better than the night games. You can see there's not a lot of attendance. It's very cold tonight. It's breezy. And this ballpark is really one of the reasons why they want to move this team is because of the conditions at this park.
And it is a terrible ballpark. You get ready for the game. We're going to commercial break, but before we go, we're going to show you some fans who are definitely ready for the ball game. Now, are they playing with a full deck of cards? We'll be back.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you by your Greater Tri-State Sherwin-Williams paint stores. There's only one paint this good, and there's only one place you can get it. The pros know. Ask Sherwin-Williams. By today's Chevrolet, who invites you to see why more people are winning with the heartbeat of America. By Nobody Beats The Wiz for everything in home electronics, music, and movies. Nobody beats The Wiz. By your Tri-State New York Toyota dealers. I love what you do for me, Toyota. By Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. By your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealers. There's only one Jeep, but it's only at your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer. By Texaco System 3 gasolines. Texaco, star of the American road. And by Budweiser, the king of beers. With that distinctively clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
Well, back here at Candlestick Park on a cool evening. It'll be the Giants against New York Mets, second game of this three-game series. And now Rusty Staub will give you the lineup for the New York Mets.
Keith Miller will be leading off and playing left field. Magadan in the number 2 slot. Then it'll be Jeffries in number 3 hole. McReynolds, Johnson, and Brooks in the middle of the lineup. Sasser behind the plate. Templeton getting a start at shortstop. And David Cone on the mound.
and John Burkett for the San Francisco Giants. 6-5 on the season with a 3.38 ERA. We mentioned that he is a bowler, and when he gets through with his Major League Baseball career, he would like to try the Professional Bowlers Tour. He's supposed to be an excellent bowler.
Well, I don't think he's got that on his mind tonight. The Giants, who need pitching so desperately, need some of these young guys to come along and mature. They have one of the better lineups going, especially the middle part of their lineup, the San Francisco Giants.
But there's been some unrest with that middle part of the lineup. Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell not seeing eye to eye on some issues here in San Francisco. Supposedly, about a week ago, they had a sit-down meeting and discussed some of the problems. And they asked Will Clark, how was the meeting? He said, well, we're still apart, but not as far apart. Will Clark, a guy who Rusty obviously very familiar with. When he grew up, Rusty Staub was his idol. I mean, yeah, Rusty Staub was Will Clark's idol. As you look at Kevin Mitchell, who, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want to mess with Mitch.
Well, you know, when you're playing a ball club and the two guys that excel, especially offensively, there's always a certain type of a competition on teams. I can look back at a lot of things that happened to me during my career, but it's usually friendly competition and everybody enjoys it. But there are some rocky roads in every relationship, and they must have gone through one.
Well, what I would do if I told Kevin Mitchell I want to have a sit-down meeting with him, I'd put him in one room and I'd call from another room. There's no way I would sit in the same room. By the way, you saw Roger Craig. He's been under the gun out here in San Francisco. A columnist tattooed him in the paper and called for his firing, but Roger has lived through it. By the way, the defense for the Giants.
It'll be Matt Williams, Jose Uribe, Robbie Thompson, and Will Clark on the infield. Kevin Mitchell, Darren Lewis, and Kevin Bass in the outfield. Terry Kennedy behind the plate, and John Burkett on the mound. Here's the first pitch. It's a ball up and in. Buddy Harrelson very pleased with the performance of Keith Miller as of late. Wants him in the lineup and has placed him there. Kevin McReynolds shifting over on this trip to center field. Ground ball up the middle. Thompson, the Clark, one down.
Well, one of the reasons Buddy would like to get Keith Miller in the lineup, he can play a lot of positions, but he feels he's a prototype leadoff hitter. He could be a good ball player. He's really never gotten the opportunity. He was inserted into the lineup a year ago in center field.
That was a tough situation. He was not an outfielder. He had a little bit of time in spring training. Center field in Shea Stadium, especially in the early part of the season, the sun is a major factor, and it's a gusty, windy ballpark, and it's not so easy to make that adjustment. And Miller had a lot of trouble. Magadan at the plate. Take strike one. Miller entered the game hitting .341. That would be leading the league if he had enough at bats. Magadan at .247, 4 home runs, 38 RBIs. I think one of the things that may have hurt Dave Magadan, we've talked about this a couple of times, leading the league in walks most of the year. Right now he's number 3 with 61 walks. You almost get a little bit defensive. It's good to see that you've got a good on-base percentage, but swinging the bat is the most important issue. If he does it, it's a ground at a Uribe for the second out of the inning.
Well, one of the things that have really it hurt the Mets so far this year is Dave really not a big producer as far as RBIs are concerned. Last season, he drove in a lot of key RBIs for the Mets.
Coming into spring training, you had to say Buddy Harrelson had announced that he felt Magadan would be in the 6th slot when he was talking during the course of the wintertime. Magadan had done a superb job in the 3-hole. I think everybody felt that Jeffries, who was hitting 3rd tonight, would eventually be the number 3 slot hitter for the New York Mets. Jeffries takes a ball. He's hitting .286 with 7 home runs, 44 RBIs. 8-game hitting streak for Greg. Always has his family and friends out here at Candlestick Park. Hope they brought something to stay warm with tonight. It's not a terrible night. There have been a lot worse nights. This time of year, you would think it's going to be extremely hot.
I tell you, it was pretty cool in the city today.
There's a strike on the inside. 2 balls, 1 strike.
I know you are not staying in San Francisco right now. You're in the wine country.
It's a little warmer out there. Got up to about 90 degrees yesterday. Supposed to be about the same today, high 80s. That ball fouled straight back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. It's a beautiful area of the world.
Well, maybe they should move this ballpark to the wine country.
I'm for it.
This is a terrible situation.
Well, they had a big bond issue. It looked like it was going to pass. They had the earthquake, and there was money needed for so many different projects. The bond issue did not pass. Little line drive to the third baseman. Jeffries got a little piece of that good pitch. 3 up, 3 down for Burkhead in the top of the first. No score. We'll be back. Line up for the San Francisco Giants. Darren Lewis leading off, followed by Kevin Bass. Bass in his first at bat last night hit a home run. It's after being in a rehab situation down in the minor leagues. Will Clark in the 3-hole. In the cleanup spot, Kevin Mitchell, followed by Matt Williams, Robbie Thompson, Terry Kennedy, Jose Uribe, and John Burkett.
And you're looking at David Cone, a record of 9 wins, 6 losses, a 3.07 ERA, and a lot of pressure on Mr. Cone tonight because, as we told you, the Braves are losing to the Pirates right now, 7-4. They're in the bottom of the 8th inning.
The lineup for the Mets: Johnson, Templeton, Jeffries, and Magadan in the infield. Miller in left, McReynolds in center, Brooks in right. Pitch from Cone is a strike. Mackey Sasser gets the start behind home plate. David Cone with his worst outing of the year his last time out. There's a good pitch. Good fastballs back to back, 0-2.
Now, as much as we complain about Candlestick Park, one thing is for certain: pitchers like to pitch here.
Any place the hitters hate to hit, pitchers should like to pitch. You have some people who have voiced displeasure because it is so cold during so much of the year. But I'll tell you, when they move the games, let's check this one out. Breaking ball way outside, a ball and 2 strikes. They play about 65-70% day games now, and it's really very good weather in the daytime here. It's at nighttime when it really gets cold. Line shot to right field. Good hitting by Darren Lewis. David Cone had thrown the first 2 fastballs by him. He shortened up a little bit and lined a single to left.
Well, he's becoming a favorite of Roger Craig's. Roger Craig says he can rest Willie McGee until he's completely healthy because Darren Lewis is doing a job. He hits a pretty good fastball right here. And he muscles the ball into right field. Good swing from Darren Lewis.
Lewis recalled from Phoenix on July 12th. He's been doing a fine job. He's hitting .314. That is up a little bit. Kevin Bass waiting. Cone keeping Lewis honest. Kevin Bass, a .332 batting average, 5 home runs, 17 RBIs.
And he's been injured.
As we said a second ago, first at bat after coming up from the minor leagues is rehab. Oh, that ball is down in the dirt. Magadan better hustle. Lewis is going to try for third. He's going to make it too. Long throw by Magadan, cut off by Templeton. And David Cone commits his 3rd error of the year. So right off the bat, nobody out and a man on third.
And a killer for the Mets and David Cone. Cone with that quick move to first base bounces the ball by Dave Magadan. And Lewis, with that real good speed, doesn't hesitate at second base, goes all the way to third. A lot of room behind first base here at Candlestick.
It's amazing how the ball hits that tarpaulin and it deadens the ball. If it would hit the side of the fence, which is extremely hard, it would ricochet out. You might be able to get to it a little quicker. But aggressive base running by Lewis. Swing and a miss on a high fastball. David Cone reached back for everything he had on that one. No balls and a strike on Kevin Bass. The Met infield, Howard Johnson even with the bag on third. Everybody else is deep, conceding the run. Swing and a miss on a good breaking ball. 0-2.
Besides good talent, one of the reasons the Giants were interested in Kevin Bass back in 1990 to sign him as a free agent is because he was born and brought up in Northern California. But he still lives in Sugar Land, Texas.
Having played those years with the Houston Astros. That ball in the dirt. Might have a play at the plate. The toss to Cone. The tag. Seen. Greg Bonet, the home plate umpire, says that David Cone did not tag him. It was an awfully close play.
He looks safe, Rusty. We'll take another look at him, I'm sure, but he looks safe.
Sasser bounced quick.
One of the things that's tough to do is when you're a pitcher, come running in, watch the ball, and also get that glove in front of the plate. It looked like David Cone tagged him in the middle of the plate. Let's take a look. He was safe. Got the hand underneath the glove. Good call, really. That's a tough call by the umpire. Here's another angle. Greg Bonet right on top of the play.
The umpire was in position.
And here's another look at it. The same angle you saw first, and that's a good slide by Darren Lewis.
Mets trailing 1-0. Kevin Bass with a 1-ball, 2-strike count. David Cone with wild pitch number 15 and throws an excellent breaking ball. Just breaks the knees of Kevin Bass.
David Cone has nasty stuff. One of the reasons he throws a lot of wild pitches because of that split-finger fastball, but he's been known to bounce it, break the ball. Here's that last pitch. And Rusty mentioned those knees. You saw the knees collapse, and you also saw the hands collapse.
Those knees go, those hands follow, don't they?
I'll tell you now, this is how, you know, it's tough to spend your whole career like that. That's how I did it. I'm telling you.
Well, that's tough.
And if you can get a hitter to do that, he's out.
Will Clark, a line shot. Base hit to right. Got up on that fastball. Said it shall not pass.
Well, we talked about this guy's swing. You don't see him fooled very often. Will Clark. They say he's really a cocky player. Well, his confidence. He's got a lot of confidence. In order to be a good hitter, you need confidence. And there's that swing, getting on top of that fastball. That's a tough pitch to hit.
So loose with his hands at the plate. And really whipped that bat. Kevin Mitchell waiting on Cone. David keeping Clark a little bit honest. He has only 4 stolen bases in 5 attempts. Ball outside. 1-0. Will Clark with that hit inching a little closer to 300. Came into this game 17 home runs, 69 RBIs, hitting .296. Mitchell in the cleanup slot, having been out with that knee operation, hitting .259, but he has 16 home runs. He missed a lot of time. Good slider.
I wouldn't want Kevin Mitchell swinging at my fastball. If you have good control of that breaking pitch, you're better off showing him the heater and making him go after that breaking ball. Although he'll eventually hit it. But he's a good fastball hitter.
Again, Cone keeping Will Clark honest. Unusual situation for Mitchell in that with 16 home runs, he only has 38 RBIs. A lot of solo jumps. Up and in, and I mean in. Kevin Mitchell way out of there. Wow. 2 balls and a strike.
You don't want to excite this man. Here's that pitch. It wakes him up. A guy like Kevin Mitchell, this is a wake-up call right here. He's going to be tougher now.
That adrenaline rush will come in.
There's some guys you can intimidate with that baseball, but Mitchell's like Don Baylor used to be. Remember Don Baylor? You hit him with the ball, and he didn't mind it. He thought it was a nice feeling.
The only guy I think that I think he had the greatest threshold of pain I ever saw in my life was Ron Hunt. He just stand there and try to get hit all the time. On with the breaking ball on a 2-1 count. It goes to 3-1.
Well, you knew he was coming back with the breaking ball after that fastball. Here's that breaking ball. Just down a little bit too low.
Mitchell laying off of it. Good hitting. Big Matt Williams in the on-deck circle. The 3, 4, 5 of the Giants are all just extremely strong and devastating hitters. Had Kevin Bass remained healthy over the last couple of years. Robbie Thompson hitting in the 6th slot. Fly ball deep to left, Mitchell hit a bomb. 3-0 San Francisco. I think he woke him up, Francis.
He woke him up. He gave him the wake-up call, woke him up, and then after he woke him up, he gave him steak and eggs. He gave him that fastball.
He looked around at Cone. You saw him take the look over his shoulder.
Tony would show me something by pointing at him and say, "What are you looking at?"
Yeah. Show me his nuts. Matt Williams at the plate. Big inning in the first. 3 runs across already for the Giants. Cone last time out. 8 earned runs in 6 1/3 innings. Fouled straight back.
Well, you're going to see the wake-up call. Whoop. And down the, I'll tell you, he didn't even go on his back, but he's responding to the fastball now. Opens up and he tattoos his ball. And as Rusty called it, this ball is a gigantic home run here at Candlestick.
It's all the way back in those seats back there. Wow.
Better watch out with Williams.
They have some thunder. High pop-up. Jeffries waiting at second. And the Mets now have 2 down in the bottom of the first inning.
Talking about Matt Williams, when he was in college, the scouting report I got of him in college is he had trouble with the breaking ball in college. When he got into pro ball, he got into big leagues, and the breaking ball forced him back to the minor leagues. You know, Rusty, with that in mind, that curve, he'd see more curveballs, more sliders. Of course, I was nuts with that breaking ball. I'd call it. You know, I couldn't hit it. I didn't think anybody else could.
Cone with a good breaking pitch. Strike 1. You study the pitchers. You try to find out what their strengths and weaknesses are. You also have to pay attention to 2 other people. That ball fouled straight back out of play. 0-2. You have to pay attention to the catcher.
That's right. Well, good hitters do, but most hitters don't. But good hitters do.
Because the catcher is really the guy calling the game normally. And you have to know the umpire. You have to know the strike zone of the umpire and whether he's very consistent or inconsistent, so that if you do get 2 strikes on you, you don't get rung up not swinging that bat. Breaking ball out of the strike zone. 1 ball, 2 strikes. It was the 18th home run of the 17th home run for Kevin Mitchell. That was not a 1-run homer. He got a second RBI, and it brings him to 40. Middle of that lineup. Clark with 17, Mitchell with 17, and Williams with 17 home runs. Thompson with 12. Bad swing at a breaking pitch. 2-2. It's one of the pitches that after you make that contact and the ball goes foul, you go, am I lucky on that one? Strike 3 called on the outside corner, and Robbie Thompson is out. And San Francisco Giants have scored 3, and on the Chevrolet scoreboard, the Giants 3 and the Mets nothing. We'll be back. Kevin McReynolds will lead it off, top of the second inning. Mets trailing 3-0. Big Mac hitting .293 on the season, 9 home runs, 49 RBIs. He's had an excellent year in the 2-base hit category. He's number 3 in the league with 24. Fouled straight back, strike 1.
See Terry Kennedy behind the plate calling the pitches for the Giants. There's a guy that was a good, solid starting catcher for the Padres, then for the Giants for a little bit, Baltimore Orioles.
Line shot, 1 hop, Thompson, nice play. Over to Clark. And a tough at bat for McReynolds. He hit it hard, but he will take that long run back to the dugout in this ballpark. That is about as far as you can get away from the dugout.
So most ballparks you can get from the bullpen, you can get into an enclosed area, or from the dugout you can get into the clubhouse. Once you get in the dugout here at Candlestick, if you're the visiting team, forget it. It's a long walk down there to that That's what you see where the Giant bullpen is. You have to go through that door down there to get into the clubhouse. No place to hide here.
Well, it's always been I think the reason that some of this kind of was let go. Chubb Feeney was very involved here. He then became the president of the National League, allowed that to take place. They should have had something happen in the dugout. If a player has a problem with his stomach during the course of the game, he's in trouble in this ballpark because there's no place for him to go.
Got to get yourself some good roll aids.
I hear you. Howard Johnson waiting on John Burkett. Gets jammed, a little looper. In hard is Kevin Bass. And he cannot make the play. Howard Johnson going to second. A weak throw in. Bass could not get a hold of it. And Howard Johnson with a little dunk double.
A guy like Howard Johnson with his speed and his power will get a lot of hits like this because the defense has to respect his power. They have to move back. Now watch this. Howard Johnson with the big swing hits the ball off the end of the bat. Tough ball for an outfielder to judge. Kevin Bass playing deep comes in unable to make the play. Thought he had a shot at it. Obviously the ball off his glove, and Howard Johnson with great speed and easy double.
We'll bring up Hubie Brooks. Hubie 254 on the season. 15 home runs at this time of the year. I think the Mets are very pleased with that. Little ground ball. It's going to get Howard Johnson over to third, but the ball goes through the infield. Mets are going to score a run. What a break for Buddy Harrelson. Uribe tried to make that play. Check this out.
Ball was deflected by Uribe, and Hojo, who had stopped at third, was able to advance home. Here it is again, right back up the middle. Burkett tries to glove the ball. Now look at Uribe. I think Robbie Thompson had a real good shot. Not at the runner, but he would have caught the ball. Here's Hojo looking at it now. He sees it hit the glove, and he's not sure if he should go. Now he decides to make the move towards the plate and scores easily. So a break for the Mets. Of course, Giants caught a break in the first inning on Darren Lewis's run. They say everything evens up in baseball. I don't believe it.
Never happened. Never happened. Mackey Sasser at the plate. Mackey hitting .314. Line shot right at Kevin Mitchell in left field. Brooks will return. Long throw or hard throw anyway by Mitchell. Uribe had gone down about 2/3 of the way, but he gets back. They have an error up on the board, Francis. I think they have given an error on that play. Uribe.
Yeah, should be hitting an error.
Well, there's only one hit.
One hit up on the board, so they gave an error to Uribe. Well, Thompson, as I mentioned, would have made that play. You know, when you watch Mackey Sasser hit, he's so aggressive. It looks like when he's batting, the hit and runs on every pitch.
He lets it fly, doesn't he?
Oh, he really does.
That error, the 7th error of the season for Jose Uribe. Templeton line drive. The outfield playing him extremely well. Darren Lewis shaded over to left center. So Mets get one in the top of the second, and on the GE scoreboard is the Giants 3 and the Mets 1.
Well, tough first inning for David Cone after Darren Lewis single. Watch this. Here's a wild wild throw to first base. Lewis, without any hesitation whatsoever, goes all the way to third base. Now he scores in this wild pitch, a close play at the plate. Mackey Sasser going back after the ball, flipping to David Cone, but Lewis gets his hand in under the glove. So that's what you call an ugly run. But I'm going to show you a pretty run. Here's the home run. 2-run home run off David Cone by Kevin Mitchell. This ball was crushed.
Well, that was a Baby Ruth job right there.
I played here, and I'm going to tell you something, Rusty. I stayed in those seats during batting practice.
Terry Kennedy leading off for the Giants. He's got a 1-1 count. Kennedy hitting .223, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. Swing and a miss, strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Talk about Terry Kennedy before. He was signed by the St. Louis Cardinals, traded away to the Padres. He was really sought after by the Cardinals, and then when Whitey Herzog took over, they traded him to the Padres. Had a fine career with the San Diego Padres. One thing, if he had a shortcoming, was his throwing.
He injured his arm early when he was a youngster. He threw the ball quite well.
And you know, it's ironic that his father, who works here for the Giants, I was told by Ralph Kiner and a lot of the old timers that his father had one of the greatest throwing arms in the history of the game.
Hard ground ball. Jeffries to Magadan. One down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the New York Mets. It is intended for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Mets, Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, and Sports Channel is prohibited.
By the way, stay with us. In the 4th inning, we'll be joined by the Mad Dog, Christopher Russo, Ralph Kiner on assignment tonight in Palm Springs.
Uribe takes the ball inside. 1-0. I'd like to get a couple more of those assignments like Ralph has right now. It's all right. Ralph works hard.
Yes, he does.
Got to get a little bit of a break. 2 balls, no strikes to Jose Uribe.
He was at the Hall of Fame. Talking about Ralph Kiner. Rusty Staub was up there. Rusty, it was quite a weekend up at the Hall.
It was a great weekend at the Hall. I didn't get a chance to stay for the inductions themselves. Cone now 3-0 to Uribe. But it is a very exciting time. I saw Ralph and his family. The whole crew was up there. Naturally, the Kiners won the tennis tournament and the golf tournament.
Is that right?
Absolutely. I told Ralph, I said, they keep telling me about my terrible handicap, and everywhere I go, a Kiner's winning something. Uribe waiting, 3-1, fouls it straight back. Ralph himself actually did not play in the golf tournament. It was his daughter, Casey, and his 2 sons.
Great weekend up there in Cooperstown. Of course,
his daughter can play.
That's what I heard.
Casey can hit it. Uribe waiting. This ball not hit so well, but an unusual hop. Jeffries gets it, throws it, and Magadan, who was a little bit leaning to his left, could not handle that pitch, could not get up. He broke to go get that ground ball, so he got to first base a little late.
Well, it scored an E4, an error on Greg Jeffries. Take a look again. Uribe putting the ball in play. As Rusty mentioned, the hop, almost a in-between hop that Jeffries had to move back a little bit and glove it, then flips it to Magadan and throws the ball, and the ball sailed. A lot of times you don't have a proper grip on the ball. If you don't have it across the seams, that ball will tend to sail, and that ball right there sailing by Magadan.
1 out, a bunting situation. Hojo challenging. Ball fouled out of play. Strike 1.
You know, talking about Jose Uribe, when the season started, the Giants had made up their mind to go with a kid named Mike Benjamin. Now, Benjamin's supposedly a good shortstop, good defensive shortstop. Came out of AAA ball, but never had big credentials as an offensive player, even in the minor leagues. That's astounding to me, Rusty, when they bring up a kid and say that he's going to really do a good job offensively.
Evidently, they've been wrong. Another bunt. This is a high hopper. Cone tags Burkett directly. A good sacrifice. There'll be 2 down and a man on second.
By the way, Benjamin is back in the minor leagues, and talking about bunting, Burkett getting the job done. Burkett getting the job done. And here's the form. Rusty was teaching bunting on Rusty's Rules today. We hope you caught that feature on the RCA Mets on Deck. Rusty stopped bunting. What were you, punching Judy? You got to be a punching Judy to bunch it out.
Well, all I can tell you is there was a year where I was playing for Gene Mauch, and I was used as a sacrifice bunter many times. There's the strike. Aaron Lewis, who singled his first time up, advanced to third on an error by David Cone, and then scored on that pass ball. Yep, I was hitting second. The left-handed pitchers were on the mound, and I was a good bunter. He used me to sacrifice. I had 10 one year. Of course, I had 29 home runs, and I thought every once in a while he was losing his mind.
Yeah, so
but if he said bunt, I bunted.
So you were very cooperative. You never complained.
No.
Never said anything under your breath.
He put me in. Gene Mauch put me in the leadoff slot for a while. They were walking me so many times. He said, I'm just going to change this for a while. There's a pitch out of the strike zone, 3-0.
Yeah, but you know the leadoff spot, really the lineup's overrated. You only bat in that spot once.
Well, with
the 7, 8, 9 that we had in Montreal, there weren't a lot of people to drive in. In all deference to those gentlemen. 3 balls, no strikes. Aaron Lewis. It's a strike. David Cohn trying to come back with 2 down. Lots of sweaters and lots of coats here at the stick. This ball fouled off out of play and on the right side. It will be a full count.
When I first joined the Giants back in 1971 in spring training, Wes Western, who was the manager, or well, he was a manager at one time with the Mets, he was coaching with the Giants, and I remember he was standing there talking to me. This is in Phoenix, Arizona, where it is hot. And he says to me, look, when you get to San Francisco, you got to do a lot of sprints, work out hard, because people tend to put on weight during the season because it gets very, very cold. I said, very cold? He said, sure. June, July, and August, very cold. I thought he had lost his mind, but you know something?
He was right. Full count. Breaking ball outside. Check with the first base umpire, Ed Montague. He says no swing. So the Giants now will have Lewis at first, Uribe at second, and Kevin Bass at the plate.
Now, we saw Kevin Bass before with the legs buckling and the hands buckling on a breaking ball. The runners on first and second with 2 men out. The score is 3-1 in favor of the Giants. Be interesting to see the pitch selection between Mackey Sasser and David Cohn.
Cohn ready. Mackey right out to him to go over the signs. There was some confusion there.
Plus, it also gives Mackey the opportunity to walk the ball back. That's a trick of anybody that has trouble throwing back to the pitcher. Love to go out and talk to him.
I'll tell you what. Guy who's hitting .313 lifetime against right-handed pitching.
Put him in.
Got to be in that lineup.
I agree.
Jockeying with Uribe. This ball hit hard to right and deep. Kevin Bass, for the 2nd day in a row, has taken one deep off the Mets. 3-run home run. That will make it 6-0. 6-1. Wow. That got out of here in a hurry. David Cohn struggling with the long ball. Clark at the plate. 2 down. Nobody on. They were all cleared with that 3-run dinger. Clark takes the ball.
Let's take a look at the swing at the, looked like a fastball. Bass getting the head of the bat out there. We talked about that breaking ball before. Getting everything to collapse. David Cohn right there, giving up the long ball to Kevin Bass.
We're talking Kevin Bass having some fine years at Houston. His injury, I'll tell you what, add his bat to the lineup with the capability that it had for many years. It's a shame when you see a player get hurt. He's been hurt a lot here for 2 seasons. Will Clark swing and a miss.
Kevin Bass sitting behind Matt Williams.
One ball, 2 strikes. The Will the Thrill. 2-2.
Will, very intense player. When he first came to the major leagues, kind of got in a taffy pull with Leonard here with the Giants. Remember they used to call him Penitentiary Face? I guess that was his nickname. That was his nickname. It was affectionate.
There's nothing affectionate about that nickname. That's a lie.
That's a classic.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't care who you are, with Will Clark coming up with the talent he had, he's not the right guy to be duking out with. This ball hit just down the left field line. Miller cannot get to it. Clark is trying for 2, and Miller cannot pick the ball up. So Will Clark dunks one down the line. Smart hitting. Look to right. Shoot it down the left field line.
I think he did that on purpose, huh? Well, here comes Mel Stoudemire going out to just I guess calm him down right now. David Cohn is getting tattooed. He's given up 6 runs in 2 innings. And here's Will Clark hitting the ball the other way. Keith Miller charging the ball and not able to come up with it cleanly. It'd have been close at second base. If Miller comes up with that ball cleanly, it's a close play at second base and with a good throw. David Cohn really shocked right now. He's given up a few home runs his past couple outings.
Yes, he has in both games. As we told you, 9 hits, 8 runs, and 6 in the 3rd innings.
We've talked about the confidence of players. I think the confidence of a pitcher, especially a starting pitcher, is more fragile than any other player because he's not able to redeem himself the next day. He's going to have 3 or 4 days to sit around.
It's terrible, Francis, that you set me up like this. A minimum of once a game. I have to agree with you on that. No fair. Kevin Mitchell with 2 down. Kevin looking for a little more chin music right there that time. He was ready. He was taken all the way. Clark leading off at second. 2 down. Giants ahead 6-1. Line shot. And Miller takes it on 1 hop off his chest. Clark scores easily. Another RBI for Kevin Mitchell. 7-1 Giants.
Hit right on the button into left field, and Keith Miller keeping the ball in front of him, but Clark will score easily. Kevin Mitchell, 3 RBIs and 2 hits. 7-0. 3 runs in the first, 4 in the second.
Bullpen now getting active. David with the breaking ball out of the strike zone. Ball 1. Jeff Innes. Foul to the left side. 1-1. If you're a pitcher like David Cohn, it's awfully deflating, giving up 3 in the first, 4 in the second. You give up the 3 in the first, you feel like, well, this team can come back and do it. You give up 4 in the second, it's like, wow.
You just got to look at the scoreboard and hope that the Pirates lose.
Pirates are not losing.
Pirates are playing tremendous baseball.
Got a heck of a ball club, and the Mets are going to have to really work to catch him. Swing and a miss at a breaking ball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. They're going to have to really beat the Pirates head-to-head, Francis. That's going to be the key to the season.
They're going to take on the Pirates head-to-head when they go back home. But they got to stay close. You can take them on head-to-head and beat them, but if you don't make up that much ground, it doesn't matter.
This trip to the West Coast, obviously, extremely important to the Mets. Been a good start. Strike 3. He gets Williams, but there's a 4 spot on the board in the bottom of the second. And after 2, the Mets trail the Giants 7-1. David Cohn off to a tough start, having a tough day. If you want to hear what a tough day is, where do we give you this bit of information? Tell him, Francis.
You like me to pass along bad news. I can tell. Andre Thornton, who was an outstanding first base, a real good hitter with the Cleveland Indians a few years back, was driving his car in Cleveland today, in a 30-foot tree fell on the car, and he's in serious condition. He's had tragedy touch his life a few times, and he was a member of the Indians. He lost his wife in a car accident, and I believe one of his children.
Boy. Prayers go out to the Thornton family, hoping that everything works out well for Andre. No balls and 2 strikes to David Cohn. Buddy Harrelson electing to leave his pitcher in the ball game. He will also strike out. First strikeout for John Burkett. Has not been a good day so far for David. Stranger things have happened in this game. You just cannot quit. That's the thing that separates certain players from others.
I'll tell you,
not giving in to problems.
When I played,
there's a ball to Miller.
When I played one Sunday afternoon at Yankee Stadium, we trailed the Angels 9-0. Frank Tanana was pitching when he had his real good stuff. We tied him up in the 9th with 9 runs.
Can happen. You never know in this crazy business.
But a postscript to that story was Thurman Munson was the DH that day I was catching. Thurman led off the 9th inning, made it out. Went in the shower. He was in the shower. We batted around. They had to go get him. He had a dress to come out. Made the 2nd out.
That's a strike. 2 balls and a strike. That's a great story.
By the way,
did he go back in and take a shower again?
No. We did tie up, but the problem is we lost it in the 10th. Usually when you do that, you tie the ball game up. You want to win it.
Miller ground ball, but foul. That'll leave the count at 2-2.
And it would be a much better story if we did win it. You know what? I'm going to say we won it even though we lost it. For the sake of the story.
I hear you. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Mets trailing 7-1. That's the pitcher for tomorrow's game, Wally Whitehurst. Strike 3 called on Keith Miller. 2 down. Back-to-back strikeouts by John Burkett.
Well, pretty good pitch from Burkett to Keith Miller right here. They call it right on the black. You see the hands collapse? They say when you're swinging the bat well, you're real comfortable at the plate. When you take a pitch, your hands are back in the hitting position.
Magadan waiting. Ball 1. What you saw with Miller, not only did his hands come down and in, but an awfully big stride, and his body moved forward tremendously. Magadan, a little loop to the left, coming in is Mitchell, and he's got it. So 3 up, 3 down in the top of the 3rd inning. After 2.5 innings, the Giants 7, the Mets 1. We'll be back.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by GE. From plastics to financial services, we bring good things to life. And by New York Telephone, who reminds you we are all connected.
Well, and a nobody beats the Wiz scoreboard in the National League. Cincinnati 12, Chicago 3. How about those Cincinnati Reds yesterday? Rob Dibble throwing the ball at DeCinzio, going down first base. Incredible. Pittsburgh over Atlanta 7-4. 3-1 St. Louis on top of Houston in the 7th inning. In the 2nd inning in San Diego, it's 5-0 Montreal. No score Philadelphia to LA in the 1st.
David Cohn, fastball, ball 1.
In the junior circuit, 10-2 Yankees over Seattle. Baltimore over California 5-2. Was Oakland over Cleveland 8-4.
Ball popped up and out of play.
And to finish those American League scores, Detroit getting past Minnesota. They're in the 8th inning, 6-3. 2-zip Toronto on top of the White Sox in the 7th. Watch those White Sox in the 9th. It's all-time Milwaukee, Kansas City in the 7th, and also in the 7th, Boston ahead of Texas 2-1.
Thompson fouls it off again. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Robbie Thompson, for a right-handed hitter, having a lot of success against David Cohn. 10 hits and 28 at-bats lifetime against a very tough right-handed pitcher. He is 0 for 1 today. 2 balls, 2 strikes. David Cohn got him, struck him out the first time up on a very good breaking ball. Tried to go again to it. Let's see what he comes with here. Thompson steps out. Now we're ready. Fastball popped up, coming way back behind home plate. Still 2-2. The Giants 7 runs on 6 hits. The Mets a couple of errors. The Giants really not swinging the bats very well. The last 4 games coming into tonight's play, we're hitting less than 200. And woke up today. Those fans don't look awake. The team has been. Nice breaking ball again. Cohn gets him for the 2nd time on just about the same pitch. Strikeout number 4 for David.
Well, Rusty told you how tough Thompson's been on David Cohn, but you see Coney getting Thompson to collapse those hands. And he was hoping it would be called the ball. That's what happens when you get that foot back in the hitting. when you get back in your stance, like you're ready, you're hoping the home plate umpire misses it.
You don't want to turn around and it's like Dutch Rennett stands back there. You get that little hesitation, then he gives you that screaming yell. You want to choke him. Kennedy, a 1-1 count, 1 down. It's 7-1. We're only in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Breaking ball, ball 2, 2-1. Popped up down the left field line. Johnson going back hard, and he loses the ball. That's all I can think.
Yeah,
he had to lose the ball.
Yeah, Pasojo makes that play. He had plenty of room, and just you looked at it and you try to pick up the fence and you look at the ball again. Obviously, he just lost the ball.
It's twilight and it's tough.
Yeah, Mojo he knew he overran the ball. Last minute he picked it up. He probably was running it in a direction he thought it was coming down. You mentioned the twilight. It is difficult to see the ball right now.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 down. Kennedy is the 3rd strikeout in a row for David Cone.
I'm talking about David Cone. He's been striking out these Giant batters. But if he's not striking them out, they're driving in runs.
Fans at this time would like to remind you that Mets baseball is brought to you by Manufacturers Hanover, where your money has power. And the Giants have displayed that power in the first 3 innings of this ball game. Runs by Kevin Mitchell and Kevin Bass. The ball just fouled down the first baseline. Neither one were cheapies either. Don't forget, folks, next half inning, Christopher Mad Dog Russo will join Fran and I. We have no idea what to expect.
Yes, we do.
A ball and a strike, 2 down.
He's a character. I don't know if you caught the RCA Mets on deck, but he was in fine form.
David Cone finding a little rhythm right now. Ball and 2 strikes. Uribe was on an error by Greg Jeffries his first time up. David Cone trying for 4 in a row. He's got it. Strikeout number 6. And on the Sherwin-Williams scoreboard after 3 innings is the Giants 7 and the Mets 1. We'll be back. Top of the 4th inning, Mets trailing 7-1. And in for the play-by-play will be Francis Xavier Healy, but in the joint, both of us, Christopher Mad Dog Russo.
And Greg Jeffrey steps in and takes ball 1. Now,
all I can tell you is 15 years ago in Houston or Detroit or Montreal, the last guy Rusty ever thought he'd be working with in a booth is Christopher Russo.
Christopher, you're right.
But it's good to have Mr. Russo with us. He was on the RCA Mets on deck and here to join us in a Giant Met game, and it's really been all Giants. Your favorite team?
Well, we're about 50 out, but yeah, in fact, your favorite. Cone didn't have it tonight. Obviously, pass balls up a little bit, nothing much.
He's found it because he's struck out 4 in a row.
Jeffries hits the ball weakly to second base. Thompson makes the play, scored 4-3, 1 down.
So amazing. If you looked at the first couple innings, Jeffries had struck out 3, walked 1. It's hard to believe you just saw that stat, that you could go back and say that he had given up 7 runs, 3 in the first, 4 in the second.
Think that error by Jeffries in the second inning with 1 out bothered him a little bit?
Errors always bother a pitcher. Some guys can come back from it. The great pitchers do. The thing that hurt Cone today was the long ball.
And Kevin McReynolds just took a strike. There's David Cone. Some players react to things in the field a lot more severely than others. Here's a fly ball to left center field. Mitchell going over, and Lewis makes the play. So Darren Lewis making the grab. 2 down. For example, David Cone reacts. You can see his feelings on his face. And some pitchers are able to adjust to problems on the field a lot better. For example, I'll tell you a guy who didn't adjust to problems on the field very well. He was one of the best competitors I've ever played with, Gaylord Perry.
Really?
He could be tough on his infielders.
I know that. I played with him for a year.
Is that right?
I tell you,
Gaylord was one of the truly great competitors in the game, and great honor being inducted in the Hall of Fame 1980. I played the entire season with Gaylord in Texas. I got to be very friendly, and I really grew to love the guy.
Borderline candidate Hall of Fame, Rusty? You think he's a legit guy?
I think he's absolutely legit. Anybody that has competed as long and as hard and got so many people out and had such great seasons as he did, I thought it was a well-deserved honor.
Howard Johnson, the batter. Bojo doubled his first time up.
Would you say then a Bunning or a Don Sutton, who's got 300 wins, does that get him in the Hall of Fame because of longevity?
Well, I think there's a certain amount of ability that has to go along with longevity. Christopher, you can't play a long time in the big leagues without having an awfully big amount of talent. When you look at a guy like Don Sutton, Jim Bunning, they were great players for a long time. I put them in the category of definitely people that should be considered to be in the Hall of Fame. I would vote.
Ben?
2-0 pitch is inside 3-0. Oh, I put Don Sutton in the second. I didn't really get to see Jim Bunning or face Jim Bunning, but from what everybody says, he was one of the best of his time.
Yes, he was.
3-0 pitch. There's a strike to Howard Johnson. We're talking to Christopher Mad Dog Russo from WFAN. Mr. Staub also on the air. And Chris, this day, well, I'll tell you one thing. Mike Francesa causing an uproar in New York, talking about you coming on the game tonight.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. And you know me. I love my baseball. Love the Giants. Good to be with the Mets on a road trip. You know me. Last year I took that long 10-game road trip with the Giants. St. Louis, Pittsburgh, and Chicago. Winning about 15 out at the time.
And how'd they do while you were on the trip?
5-5. All went downhill when General Wilson got bombed in Pittsburgh on the 6th game in.
3-2 on Howard Johnson. He threw the bat away. He thought it was ball 4. But Greg Bonet said, "Go get your bat."
This is one of those times where you got to be swinging.
And he is. He hits a fly ball to right field, right center field. Bats going over, and Lewis cutting in front makes the grab. So Lewis taking charge. Darren Lewis, 2 putouts in that inning. Next fielder score to go down 1-2-3 in the top of the 4th. We've played 3.5, and it's 7-1 San Francisco.
And fans, how sharp is your knowledge of Mets baseball? Sharp enough to be a play-by-play announcer in the Mets broadcast booth? Then enter the Sharp New York Mets Broadcaster of the Day contest. Sharp's going to put 40 lucky winners in the Mets broadcast booth to call a thrilling inning of Mets play-by-play with WFAN's Howie Rose. It's a dream come true for Mets fans, so hustle into your nearest Sharp dealer and enter the Broadcaster of the Day contest. Brought to you by the New York Mets and Sharp Electronics.
And John Burkett leading off for the Giants. Bails out in the first pitch. Ball 1. You just tuned in to Sports Channel. It's the bottom of the 4th inning. 7-1. The Giants on top of the Mets. 2 hits in this game for the Mets. 6 for the Giants. Burkett fouls the ball back. Fran Healy along with Rusty Staub and our special guest, Christopher Mad Dog Russo.
He's a bowler, this Burkett. Bowled 300 games. That big argument about whether bowlers are athletes. Here's one guy that said bowlers are athletes, huh?
There's a strike. 1-2. You don't like that sport, huh? Bowling?
Give me a couple of pins. Give me a ball. A little practice. A couple of 600 series. No problem.
What out as Burkett strikes out.
Really? 8 games indeed. You know, how about the thing with Sutton, though? I mean, don't you think a certain player, though, Rusty, has to dominate his era? Dominated his era to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Sutton did not dominate his era.
Let me ask you one question. How does a writer get in the Hall of Fame?
Longevity and contributions to baseball.
How can you stay long if you're not good? And you can write for 40 years, you're going to be an outstanding writer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you would think you're going to be an outstanding writer, but there's a lot of writers who have written for 40 years, though, who are not in the Hall of Fame.
Agreed, because they weren't outstanding writers. Or maybe they were, and they will be elected in the future.
Darren Lewis isn't in yet. He takes outside.
I just think when you look at a guy like Don Sutton, 300-plus wins, was the biggest winner in the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers, or the Dodgers period.
Yeah. It's a good argument.
3-0.
The reason I bring it up, I was talking to Ralph about that very subject last night, and Kiner, for whatever reason, thought that
well, Ralph always thinks if you haven't hit 40 home runs a year for 10 years, you don't belong in the Hall of Fame.
It's true.
There's a strike.
We've had some debates on that ourselves over a couple of nice glasses of wine.
I know Healy's on his way to the Hall of Fame.
You better believe it.
Which one? That's what we're working on.
That batting average would get me at every time. Outside, and Darren Lewis goes to first base. So, David Cone walking Darren Lewis.
Yep, that's his second walk in the game. Cone had 5 strikeouts in a row. Williams, Thompson, Kennedy, Uribe, Burkett.
Do you like playing in this ballpark, Fran?
No.
Too cold? I mean, is it as bad as everybody says it is?
Well, it's amazing. When I got to the major leagues, really, it was with the Giants to stay, and it's probably the only place in the country nobody wants to play in the big leagues.
This in Cleveland, you know.
Jeez, it's amazing. Kevin Bass, the batter, hit a 3-run homer his last time up. He struck out in the first. He slaps the ball deep left field, and Miller has room and makes the grab. 2 down. I'll tell you, I'm kind of surprised at those names out there. My name's not up there. On the right field fence, we got Christy Matheson, John McGraw, Bill Terry,
Mel Ott,
Carl Hubble. And there's the greatest player probably ever to play the game, number 24.
Ooh. He's ranks with anybody that's ever been out there. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people have the debate as to who the greatest player ever was. Mays absolutely is in the hunt.
Yeah, a lot of guys take him over everybody else. He was a great one. Of course, they also have Juan Marichal, his number out there, and Willie McCovey, the silent man. Will Clark pulls the ball foul. I got to talk to Chris about one thing. He's not paying, or he's not giving Stan Musial his due.
I've been talking a lot about that lately. The Musial Williams DiMaggio debate. And if Musial is on that same tier, same exact tier as Williams and Joe D, I say a little cut below. I mean, it's minuscule, Rusty, but a tiny cut below.
Evidently, you weren't 60 feet 6 inches from him as a pitcher. It's just like everybody talking about Don Sutton. You weren't 60 feet 6 inches with that bat in your hand either. I'll tell you. You played 20+ years in the big leagues, and you put big numbers up there.
He's an all-time great, but is he Joe D and Ted Williams?
First off, I only saw Stan play the last year of his career. You talk to people about Stan, and they talk about one of the great hitters ever. Stanley was a pretty good defensive player, too.
Way up and into Will Clark, 2-2. 2 men down. We're in the 4th inning. It's 7-1 Giants.
Healy knows how to push those buttons, huh? Trying to get me all juiced up about all these arguments here.
David Cone. Throws a fastball down low, so it's a full count on Will Clark. Coney really struggling except for the strikeout pitch.
You have a chance to, have you talked to Will on this little trip here so far, Rusty? You're from his same neck of the woods, right?
I will probably see him before the game tonight.
Same high school.
We had a lot of work to get done prepping for the game. We knew you were coming on. We knew we had to be very well prepared.
You got that right.
And Will Clark moves the ball in foul territory. Outstanding play by Howard Johnson. So Aljo making the play, and the Giants stranding a runner here in the 4th. They fail to score. We've played 4, and it's 7-1 San Francisco. Back here at Candlestick Park. We go to the top of the 5th inning. 7-1 Giants on top of the Mets. A cool evening here in the city by the bay. Fran Healy with Rusty Staub and our special guest Christopher Mad Dog Russo. I'm surprised you didn't bring your partner out here showing San Francisco.
Couldn't fit in this booth, I guarantee you that.
You're looking at Kelvin Torvey loosening up a little bit.
Now, Mike, we're talking that the booth is small.
Very small.
Yeah, we don't want to say that about Mike. Wondered why. And Kevin
By the way, they changed that era to a hit for UV Brooks before.
And Brooks just slaps the ball off Will Clark. Now, will they give him a hit?
Yeah, they give him a hit there, don't you think, Rusty?
Well, we'll find out what happens here. Will Clark with only 1 error the entire season. 1 error coming into this game in 816 chances.
Give it
a
him.
9.99 average as a defensive first baseman.
It's an error.
I think
they haven't called it yet.
Come on, it's an error.
There's 2 hits up there.
I can't believe
No errors yet. They're looking at the replay. Ball was hit pretty hard. Short hopped him.
That's a tough
Got through
call.
him.
That's a tough call, Russell. Do you make that call based on his great defensive ability and the normal Will Clark play, or do you make that call based on what a normal first baseman would make that play?
They've given an error.
All right. Call a spade here in San Francisco. How about Mackey Sasser hitting the ball in the gap in left center field? QB Brooks rounding second base. Ball cut off by Lewis. And Brooks a hold on at third base. And Mackey Sasser once again aggressively picking up a double. Got to be in that lineup, Rusty.
You know, I've been saying that all year long. I just, when the Mets started to, and you see the swing of Sasser, you throw it, he'll hack at it.
That's right. The old hit and run swing.
You just get in certain situations and you're trying to do something to help a pitcher. Best thing you can do to help a pitcher, give him a 2-0 lead.
You know, not only that, you know, they were 25-6 in that great stretch they had last year, the 31 games, and he caught the majority of the games. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, and he had the same kind of problem a little bit last year as he did this year, Rust.
Especially when he hurt his ankle.
Gary Templeton batter, swinging and a miss, strike one. Runners in second and third. So far, it's been a blowout.
Do you see the point, though, at first base? I mean, sometimes you're so great at first base that the official scorer there thinks, well, I mean, normally Will makes that play. That's a tough play.
This is the big leagues. The guy hits a one-hopper right in front of you, you're supposed to catch him.
Yeah.
Fouled out of play. 0-2.
I would have given an error on that play.
You would have? Okay.
It's a tough error, but it's an error.
How about the first one that Uribe hit that Uribe cut off at second base?
I really didn't see that play very well. The way it looked like Uribe came in late. It hit right off the edge of his glove. Thompson might have been able to make the play. I'd like to see that replay again.
They had it an error, and then they made it a hit.
Yes, they changed that.
And the 0-2 pitch. Fouled out of play. If you just tuned in the Sports Channel, it's 7-1. The Giants on top of the Mets.
I thought this was an important game for the Mets coming in because they had a long road trip, obviously. Last night, a tough loss for them. They had Cone tonight after a bad outing against L.A. The Pirates had already put the W on the board, beating Glavine. Keep that momentum. You know, you don't want to start a road trip off losing a couple of games already in the standings. You know, Rusty?
I agree.
Swung and a miss. Strike three, one out. Big strikeout right there.
Third strikeout for John Burkett. It comes in an excellent time. Got Templeton to chase a bad pitch.
Just that fastball up in his eyes. After throwing a couple of good breaking balls down low. Good pitching by John.
Did you like hitting in this ballpark, Rusty? The wind, did it
Of all
bother
the
you?
ballparks in baseball, that Kelvin Torvey, by the way, is coming up the pinch hit for the New York Mets. I didn't like this ballpark. I thought this would have been a good ballpark to let slip into the bay.
First pitch to Torvey, way inside, ball one. John Burkett right now pitching a fine ball game. David Cone out of this game.
Torvey 0 for 7 on the course of this season. Tell you what, give a little credit to Cone after having that tough time, coming back and throwing extremely well, striking out 5 guys in a row.
If nothing else, some confidence before his next start that he at least ends this outing on a little bit of a positive note.
See, that's a good point right there. You know, this guy here really knows his business.
Which person?
I'm talking about Chris Russo. When I said that,
between us?
when I said that, Chris looked around.
I did it. What are you talking about?
3-0 on Torvey.
All things the Giants do not want is to load the bases up, give the Mets a chance to get to the top of the lineup and get something going.
Here's Roger Craig sitting with the man who turned Sandy Koufax's career around.
Warren Sherry.
Warren Sherry.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants don't do something second half of the year. I would not be surprised if Craig makes this last year manager.
There's a strike. 3-1 on Torvey.
And he had those chest pains early in the year. I think that intimidated him a little bit. He had that whole mess with the Mitchell thing beginning, you know, a couple of weeks ago with that.
Preferential treatment they accused him of. Foul out of play. 3-2.
When a team does not win and they're expected to win,
The little bickerings, animosities seem to come forward a little quickly. Teams that are supposed to win and do not. Managers don't stay around a long time.
3-2 pitch. Right back to Burkett. He looks the runner back to third, goes to first.
Well, that was a big-time play.
2 down. So the runner's still on second and third with 2 men out. And Keith Miller will be the batter.
Brooks breaks on this. Nice quick hands shown by Burkett. He checks Ubi. Ubi turned around and slid back in the third.
You know, people forget about Craig. You know, he's won rings with the 55 Dodgers, the 59 Dodgers, the 64 Cardinals, and the 85 Tigers as a pitching coach.
Want a pennant?
And he won a pennant, right?
Right here.
He's the guru of the split finger fastball. Keith Miller takes a strike. By the way, Bruce Sutter, who will appear on a show here on Sports Channel called the Rolaids 300 Save Club, told me that Roger Craig asked Bruce to teach him the split finger fastball. So Bruce Sutter taught Roger Craig the split finger fastball. A guy named Freddie Martin taught Bruce Sutter.
Wow.
Outside to Keith Miller, 1-1.
No, he takes a lot of abuse out of that, Rusty, because a lot of people think it takes too much out of your arms. And you look at this Giant staff over the years with, you know, Garrelts has been banged around and Robinson's been hurt. They've had a lot of pitchers who have been on long DLs.
Line drive, base hit, left field. The Mets should pick up 2 runs. The throw from Mitchell. And the Mets pick up 2 runs as Mackie Sasser slides in ahead of the throw. A big base hit, even though the Mets are still trailing by 4. But a big hit off the bat of Keith Miller.
Sasser on that play stopped as he rounded third. Finally picked up the third base coach, Mike Cubbage, and he went on and scored anyway.
You know, last night was the first time that Keith Miller has not had a base hit when he started the ball game this year. So he has really done a good job, Rusty, when he's been in there.
Yes, he has. Buddy Harrelson very excited by what he's seen. Here comes Sasser, and a score on the single left by Miller. When a guy is going as well as Miller is going, managers want to keep him in the lineup.
Well, Miller's on first base. Dave Magadan, the batter, 2 men out. Magadan takes outside, ball 1. Mets need a 2-run home run off the bat of Dave Magadan right now to change the atmosphere.
One of the things that has always impeded Miller is every time he has gotten a chance to get in the starting lineup, it seems like any time he goes through a stretch like this, an injury comes and knocks him down.
1-0 pitch to Magadan.
You know, he's also a victim of his own versatility. I mean, the fact that he plays so many positions, you know, kind of makes him the perfect utility man. He never really gets into an established role at one set position. You know, I mean, how about that for a theory?
Well,
left field, second base.
The manager likes to have that utility player around so he can use him anywhere he wants.
Magadan takes a strike 2. And by the way, for Mets fans, nothing beats the clean, crisp, cold taste of the king of beers, Budweiser. Nothing at all beats a Bud.
Anything there, Frank? How about some of Rusty's wines?
Overrated.
Oh. Hey, Rusty's been searching every nook and cranny in California looking for a new special bottle. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you. He has the best in those restaurants. Well, in that one restaurant now on 5th Avenue, Rusty, you might, you know, since it's been in the paper, you might as well deal with that topic.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay, the 2-1 pitch to Magadan. Down low, 3-1.
The original Rusty's was closed on Sunday. Trying to extend my lease after 14.5 years. This economic environment, my landlord, I guess they must not walk up and down the street a great deal. The kind of money that they really wanted for us to extend our lease was absolutely impossible. It was a very easy decision for me.
3-1 pitch to Magadan, and runner breaks to second base. It's ball 4. So a late call by Greg Benet, and Terry Kennedy made the throw to second base. Rusty, it must have been an emotional, a tough decision emotionally for you.
Fran, anytime you've done something and it's a big part of your life for 15 years, it's a very emotional thing. Had a lot of sleepless nights over it. But when you look at the problems that we're experiencing economically in New York. There are different people who approach it as a real estate owner, and my people seem to feel that they could get a lot more out of the property. I didn't feel that we had a chance of accommodating their financial requests, and the original Rusty's is something that I will remember well.
But of course you did. You know, I remember 4 restaurants in that area when I was with a member of the Yankees. It was Rusty's on 73rd, and you had Jim McMullen's down the street, George Martin's, and Warren and Aretsky's.
Makes it impossible for the small businessman to make it this day and age. You know? Not that you were necessarily a small businessman, but I mean.
Well, I may be big, but my business is definitely in that area.
And Greg Jeffries, the batter, with runners on first and second. It's ball 1 to Jeffries, 1-0. 2 men out. The scene here in San Francisco. We are in the top of the 5th inning. Mets have scored 2 runs on a base hit by Keith Miller. It's 7-3 Giants.
How much more do you give Burkett? He's only 1 out away from a win, but 1 hit away from blowing a big lead. You know.
Just tuned in, you just heard Christopher Mad Dog Russo, who does his thing every afternoon on WFAN radio with Mike Francesa. I'm Fran Healy along with Rusty Staub.
When are we going to get you guys back on Mad Dog Live for a 2nd annual appearance?
We're looking forward to that.
Rusty?
Go on and throw some punches.
Yeah, maybe we can bring the IMO up there, and we'll have something to throw him at.
We can play catch with him. We'll toss him back and forth.
Yeah, we're talking about trying to do something. We might be able to help some of the unfortunate people in the city. Imus went from wanting to have a fight to a debate. Now he's on whether he's going to jog or run or walk or.
Let's keep it to walking.
He'll talk tough every day between 5:30 and 10, but he's a wimp when he
Oh.
1 and 2 on Greg Jeffries.
Well, Francis and I visited Imus last year right after the season was over. Brought a couple of left-handed punching gloves with us.
That was funny. We were walking down the street over there in Long
Everybody
Island
was
City.
screaming at us, "Go get him! Go get him!"
Of course, Monday back at work, it's, boy, how bad can Rusty and Fred be?
Believe me, we got the official weather vane here to your right, and you're right in the middle.
There's a ground ball, second base. This will do it for the Mets. Here in the 5th, but they picked up 2 runs. We play 4.5 here at Stick in San Francisco, and on the Toyota scoreboard, Giants 7, Mets 3. Well, you're looking at the Stick, Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California. You're watching all the Mets action tonight exclusively on Sports Channel. Everybody dressed for the ball game.
2nd oldest ballpark in the National League behind Wrigley Field.
You called it a dump, I believe, on a pregame show.
Well, it is.
Jeff Innes on the mound.
The eye man.
Would you say he's the official eye man?
The official indeed.
This is the real guy, right?
Well, Kevin Mitchell, the batter, 1-0 on the Giant left fielder. He's had a pretty good night. A home run, 2-run homer in 1st inning, and he singled left and drove in a run 2nd time out.
Well, that first home run, guys, boy, I thought he was jammed. I mean, great strength to get that ball out of the ballpark, I thought.
There was somebody jammed on it. It was that guy in about the 7th row out there. Over the backdrop into the seats. He jammed his thumb trying to catch it.
Yeah, Kevin Mitchell really smoked that ball. Look at the guns on this guy.
A lot of people will tell you that the problem with Mitchell is, I mean, if there's a problem with this Giant ball club, is he's not one to sort of be one of the guys, so to speak. Take a rookie aside and, you know, sort of show him the ways of Major League life. And that's not his responsibility or role, but there's a negative to him. I guess that might be it, according to some Giant people. Rusty, what's your any thoughts on that?
Well, you're not paying him to teach.
Paying him to hit. He hits ground ball at second base. Jeffries flips the bag, and he scored 4-3. 1 down.
I do agree that a player that can help, who has that kind of talent, is a real plus for an organization and for a team. I think every once in a while, Kevin Mitchell feels that he's been exploited a little bit, has not been treated fairly. He's obviously come out again and said that he feels that way about it. It makes it difficult for a player like that who has those emotions to generate all these fond thoughts and try to help everybody in an organization.
Well, Matt Williams, the batter. He's 2 swings and misses. 0-1 on the Giant third baseman.
This would be one guy I'm talking about because, you know, Williams really struggled his first couple of years in the big league. Struck out all the time. Remember that when he hit a curveball?
Yep, he was going back and forth quite a bit to Phoenix. But he's going to be around a long time, this young man.
The 0-1 pitch. Fouls the ball out. Reminds me a lot of Harmon Killebrew.
I've heard you say, how come, friend? You've said that a lot.
Well, killers seem to hit off that back foot. And Matt Williams seems to do the same thing.
They're both kind of bulky, you know.
Yeah, strong home run hitters.
Yep. Let's take a look at his swing from the side. A little pickup of the legs.
See the way he opens those hips? Same with Harmon Killebrew. If he's as nice a guy as Harmon Killebrew, they're going to Hall of Fame. Swung and missed.
Still can be fooled with breaking pitches, can he? Boy, oh boy.
You know what's amazing? As much as you can fool people with the breaking ball, for some reason, pitchers want to come in and try to see if they can sneak that fastball by them. They're crazy.
There's that side-on breaking ball by Jeff Innes.
Is that a slider, Rusty? What was that?
You can call it a slider. It's his breaking ball. It comes from the side so much it's like a swerve.
Sometimes it goes up.
That's when he really gets down underneath.
Bobby Thompson, the batter.
They tell everybody else to get on top. They tell him, like, get down underneath that ball. How can you teach a guy like that? What can the pitching coach say?
It's funny. I heard Dan Quisenberry, who's a very, very funny guy, give a clinic at that Fan Fest up there in Toronto. I'll tell you in a moment how he describes this. Outside Thompson, 1-1. He said, when you throw a rock across a lake, he said, imagine skipping across the lake. He said, now, if you can't imagine it, he said, if you're a parent, he said, imagine spanking your child. He said, I have to bend down. He said, you have to open your hips. I couldn't believe it. Ground ball to Jeffries. He scored 4-3. And that'll do it for the Giants here in the 5th. They fail to score after 5. It's 7-3 Giants. McReynolds takes up high, ball 1 from John Burkett. You're watching the Mets and the Giants exclusively on Sports Channel from San Francisco, California. I'm Fran Healy along with Rusty Staub and our special guest, Mad Dog Russo. And there's a base hit into right field, so Kevin McReynolds picks up the base hit.
I'll tell you, if I'm Roger Craig, I got that bullpen up so fast, and I give him one more batter, and John Burkett's in the showers, and he can go bowling as far as I'm.
Francisco Oliveras was up last inning.
I mean, come on, before you know it, it's 7-5.
He's looking over his shoulder himself to see if somebody
Am I right or wrong?
coming out. That bullpen cage down there, that little box they've built to keep the wind off the Giant players.
We saw Roger Craig flashing signs to Terry Kennedy, probably about to pitch out. There's the bullpen Rusty's talking about. You could consider John Burkett right now a top step pitcher, the manager on the top step waiting to go get him, but there's no steps in the dugout. Popped up, a lot of room over there. Matt Williams has it. Makes the grab. 1 down.
I guess one of the reasons why this is a lot of cases a decent pitcher's park is because there's so much foul territory on the first and third base lines. Ooh.
You see all the room that's there for Matt Williams to come over. It is the biggest ballpark in baseball. Atlanta used to be similar to this, but they changed the way the stands were shaped, took some territory and put some seats in. And San Francisco, look at that territory. Lots of pop-ups and that. And let me tell you, if the wind's blowing well, a lot of embarrassed players running around this place.
Yeah.
Oh, Hubie Brooks is the batter. Hubie 2 for 2. Takes inside low, ball 1.
You played here, Fran, where in fact they didn't have this whole thing enclosed, right?
Oh,
you could
boy.
see out to the bay if you wanted to.
What an adventure that was. It was incredible. There's a strike. 1-1 on Hubie Brooks. I remember a game against the Dodgers. There'd be a ball popped up in the infield. The right fielder would catch it going back. I mean, it was incredible. That was not here when I was here. They just had the lower level. McCovey lived in that lower level with line drives and fly balls. Speaking of fly balls, that's a foul ball out of play. McCovey, when he played here, was one of the most feared hitters in all of baseball.
They moved Cepeda just to make sure they had a place for him to play.
I'll tell you, I played in this ballpark in those days. Wind would blow hard out to the right field corner, across from left. Willie McCovey hit a number of them way over my head.
1-2 on Higgy Brooks. He slaps to the right side. Clark makes the play. He's going to go for the double play. Second to first, not in time. Nice play by Will Clark, getting the lead runner.
Clark could have made this tag and maybe go right back to the bag.
Didn't exactly realize that, trying to make that catch. What a play from his knees. You'll be beating out the double play. The double play attempt. Clark with only his second error of the season.
No,
tonight's ball game.
Chris, you being a Giant fan, when you look at the Giant team, Jose Uribe is playing shortstop. They were not expecting Jose Uribe to play short this year. They were hoping for Mike Benjamin.
They were.
And behind the plate, they weren't counting on Terry Kennedy. They were hoping for Steve Decker.
He hit it right on the head. Decker was always been a good hitter in the minor leagues and didn't hit Rust. And then all of a sudden, I think he let his defense behind the plate, made some throwing errors. And Uribe had those stitches in his leg. He had the 15 stitches been on and off the DL.
Ground ball to Clark. He plays the easy hop, takes himself.
Just like I said, Burkett should have been out of the ballgame.
Well, the Giants still have the lead, and we'll be back.
Mets Baseball is brought to you in part by the New York Times. Read Joe Sexton's coverage of the Mets only in the New York Times. And by GE. From satellites to medical systems, we bring good things to life.
Fans, would you like a chance for your child to participate in a Mets baseball clinic? Then just drive into a participating Texaco station and enter the Sports Channel Texaco Mets Youth Baseball Clinic Contest. 100 kids will win an invitation to the baseball clinic on August 22nd. Plus, you'll also win a pair of tickets to the game. Stop by any participating Texaco station and enter today. No purchase necessary. You must be 18 years of age or older to enter. Sounds like a nice contest. Get out there and give your child a chance to join us.
Speaking of children, Chris,
Man, Hewitt.
how did you
Played golf with Joe DiMaggio. I played golf with Joe DiMaggio's club today, Russ. Met Joe walking around.
Yeah.
Joe, man, I'm doing a show tonight with Fran Healy. Best all-around catcher, Chris, I've ever seen.
Joe knew his baseball. In fact, right here on Sports Channel a few years back, I had the opportunity to broadcast an Oakland A New York Yankee game with Joe DiMaggio and Mel Allen.
Wow.
Yeah, two of the greats of the game. And this is first pitch. Kennedy fouled off. By the way, you didn't let me complete the sentence. I didn't mean Chris was a child. As a child, you became a Giant fan. It's an interesting story.
That's where that one came. Yeah, you know, I was 1968. I was a young little kid. Went down to Philadelphia with my folks at a business convention. Stayed at the same hotel the Giants stayed at. They were playing the Phillies that weekend before the Vet Stadium. And got all the Giant autographs. Except for Willie Mays. It's got Bill Mambo, Kent, Gaylord Perry, Mike McCormick. You name it, I got it. And that was the first weekend that Bobby Bonds broke in as a Major League ball player. And I became a huge Bobby Bonds fan. And I can remember the day that Bonds was traded to the Yankees for Bobby Mercer. I was devastated for like a half a year because I loved Bobby Bonds. Back in '68.
Here's the 0-2 pitch to Kennedy. Ground ball to the right side. It's a nice play by Greg Jeffries. And he flips to Magadan. One down.
Jeffries making an awfully nice play, diving to his left. Stays with it. Kennedy had that same problem I did toward the end of my career. Very slow feet. Jeffries be able to come up on his knees, a toss. You're coming down the line. You know if the second baseman catches it, you got no chance. You're running down the line. I mean, it's not even a close play.
You're thinking hit, you know, and then all of a sudden.
And Jose Uribe, the batter, takes inside ball. When I remember the first time I saw Rusty stop in the major leagues was right here at Candlestick Park. He was a member of the Montreal Expos. Never wore an undershirt, no matter how cold it was. Then I said, now there's a man's man. I said, no doubt about it. Now here's your Jose Uribe takes. Jose Uribe takes a ball to.
Now you're going to throw a butt in this, aren't you?
I'm just a huge one.
But then I heard you used a 29-ounce bat, and I said, there's a wimp.
Yeah, but that was, let's check this pitch first. Fouled straight back.
after the first 5 weeks of being with the Montreal Expos, I went to a 34-inch, 36-ounce bat and used it the rest of my career. Except when I was pinch hitting at the end, I dropped down to about 35 ounces.
Why did you make that switch, Russ? Why from anything specific?
Yes. They wanted me to go for the long ball a little more. I was experimenting. I had done some work in batting practice with it. And I decided if I was going to make a commitment to being a long ball hitter, I should go up there with some artillery.
Right.
And I did. And it started to work. We spent a lot of extra hours in the batting cage trying to develop that home run swing.
2-1 pitch to Jose Uribe. Fly ball left field. Templeton going out, taking charge and making the grab. 2 down. Rusty, of course, you choked up on a bat, which helped.
I did. I believed in, especially at the end of that period of time when I went to the handle at the end of the 1969 season and all of 1970, and I struck out a lot in 1970, and I realized when I got 2 strikes on me, I would choke up a couple of inches on the bat, and I hit a lot of home runs with 2 strikes on me. So I said, I'm going to stay with choking up a little bit, but I moved up on the plate, up in the box, and said, bring that heat on in here, boys. I'm ready.
And John Burkett, the batter, takes ball 1. It's 7-3. You're watching all the action on Sports Channel, Mets and the Giants.
And you had some big years in Tiger Stadium too. You look back, you know, couple of years, 100 RBIs and more, Rust. You know, you like that ball. You like probably all your ballparks. I mean, Jerry Park and Tiger Stadium. I don't know about the old Astrodome or before that was built, but you had to love Tiger Stadium.
Tiger Stadium was a good ballpark. Hit the ball out of the ballpark in. Terrible ballpark to hit for an average. They had the grass so thick you could not even hit a ground ball through the infield.
It's 1-2 on John Burkett. We're joined here in the Sports Channel booth by Chris Mad Dog Russo. 1-2 pitch on Burkett. He just took strike 3. That'll do it for the Giants. Here in the 6th inning, they fail to score. They go quietly. 1-2-3. Chris, always a pleasure. We're going to see you again tomorrow right here on Sports Channel, the pregame show, and again 3 innings during the ball game.
Looking forward to it, guys. Always a pleasure. Rusty, good
Don't get lost tonight.
I won't get lost. No.
You wait for it so we can find your way back home.
Okay.
All right, man. We'll be back. Templeton, the batter, takes a strike from John Burkett, and we go to the top of the 7th inning. 7-3, the Giants on top of the Mets. Great to see Chris Russo here in San Francisco. Always a pleasure to talk to him as Templeton hits the ball right back to Burkett. Scored this baby 1-3, 1 out. And sliding in again with the play-by-play, Mr. Rusty Staub.
Thanks, Francis. Mets have a long way to go here. They only have 7 outs left. They're trailing 7-3. Darryl Boston coming to hit for Jeff Innes.
You know, we were talking about choking up on a bat before. I got to tell the story. Only Ralph Kiner could do it. A magnificent sense of humor. Really and truly is. Off the air, even on the air, he has good sense of humor. But he's one of the funniest, quickest, witted guys you want to be around. And I'll try to get the story in between pitches.
Boston takes a strike.
We're up in Montreal. We go to lunch. And Rusty introduces everybody to this beautiful woman that he used to date when he was up in Montreal. Ralph said, no wonder you choked up on the bat.
Fly ball down the left field line, slicing foul. We had a wonderful day having lunch. Had the whole troops in, some of my friends in from the city. It's a rare opportunity to visit some people I had been very close with there. And it was a nice restaurant.
It certainly was.
I know one thing. With all the things that are said about me and eating, I'm in the right group. Templeton, little ground ball. Count remains 1 ball, 2 strikes.
We do it. We have a crew that can eat, don't we? We're like minor leaguers compared to those 2 downstairs. Kevin Mininger, Danny Reagan.
Well, they can pound.
Hippo and hippo.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Tempe hits a line drive by the shortstop in the left field for a base hit. I said Templeton. That was Darryl Boston. Forgive me. Boston getting a chance for a pinch hit. Takes advantage of it.
Well, take a look at Darryl Boston's swing. He's been doing a job for the Mets. Here it is. Goes out. He's a big advocate of the philosophy preached by Walt Rinniak. And he says that the big thing they talk about is keeping your head in the ball. When you watch Darryl Boston swing the bat, he does really concentrate on keeping his head in the ball.
Ball fouled off by Keith Miller. Strike one. Miller has grounded to second, struck out, and singled in 2 runs. That was in the 5th inning. Got the Mets their 2nd and 3rd runs of the game. The Mets need a lot of hits back to back. As we were saying earlier, especially Mr. Russo, I think that manager Roger Craig is going to stay a long time with Burkett. The Mets get something going here. Ball out of the strike zone, 1-1. Mets have been 14-5 in July. It's been a good month for them, as they started off with 10 wins in a row. Burkett ready. Ground ball by third. Boston rounding second. Hesitates, goes on to third. Here comes Miller into second to throw, and he's in with a double.
Really good aggressive base running by the Mets. Trailing by 4 runs, getting 2 runners in scoring position with 1 out.
Miller on that slide looked like he might have hurt his ankle a little bit. There is Francisco Olivares again. You're looking at his hand. He limped a little bit. You see the slide. Let's another look at it. Sliding in, hits his foot on the bag. His right ankle on the bag. Sticks his hand on a spike, I think. A ground ball up the middle. Thompson, the first. Maginen's out. The Mets do get a run on the play. 4th run crossing the plate, and now Boston goes into the dugout, having done a fine job. A pinch hit single came around. Maginen gets an RBI. And we'll bring up Greg Jeffries. 2 down, a man on third. Score is 7-4. Popped up and out of play, strike 1. Alejandro Pena warming for the New York Mets. This is the 2nd time Pena's been up. Miller bouncing off at third. Jeffries takes a ball, 1-1. Jeffries, an 8-game hitting streak. He is 0 for 3. Ground ball to short. Uribe has it. Over to Clark. Jeffrey out for the 4th time. The Mets score 1 in the top of the 7th. But they still trail the Giants 7-4.
New York Mets baseball is brought to you in part by MetLife. Get Met, it pays. By RCA Color Track 2000 Home Theater TV. RCA, changing entertainment again. And by AT&T Long Distance. All you need to reach out.
On the Nobody Beats Wiz scoreboard in the National League, Cincinnati over Chicago, Pittsburgh topped Atlanta, St. Louis nipping Houston 5-2, Montreal over San Diego in the 5th. Also in the 5th, no score, the Phillies and the Dodgers. In the junior circuit, the Yankees 10, Seattle 2 in the Bronx, New York, and it was Baltimore 5-2 over California. Oakland got past Cleveland, Detroit over Minnesota, Toronto nipping Chicago, Kansas City on top of Milwaukee, and Boston winning in Texas.
Darryl Boston moving into center field. Mack moving back over to left. Miller at second base now. Jeffries out of the game. Will switch by Buddy Harrelson, and Alejandro Pena now pitching for New York. Pena a 6-0 record, a 2.74 earned run average. It is his 33rd game. 2 2/3 innings. He has given up 40 hits. He has walked 14 and struck out 29. Six and 0 is tough to beat. Perfect record as a relief pitcher. Giants having Francisco Ontiveros warming twice. Now have Kelly Downs throwing. See something like that, you figure that a change is going to be made. There's Kelly Downs. So Pena to face Darren Lewis. Bottom of the 7th. Mets trailing by 3. All 1. Mets losing the game to the Giants yesterday to Bud Black. It made Bud Black 3-0 against the New York Mets. Mets hit him hard back at home, but the Giants came back and tied the game up. Mets rallied and won the ball game, but Black did not get the loss. Black against the Mets has been amazing. Only 3 earned runs in 28 1/3 innings. And Lewis showing bunt, holding back, 2 balls and a strike. Popped up, drifting toward the seats and out of play. Mets 6 wins in 10 games against the San Francisco Giants. Bud Black with 75% of the victories. Giants going for 4 in a row here. The stick tonight. Strike 3 called. Good pitch by Alejandro Pena. Darren Lewis will be his first strikeout of the night.
I'll see that last pitch to Darren Lewis. Well, that's a nasty pitch right there. Darren cannot, no major league hitter. You just hope to foul that pitch off when the pitch is out there in the black like that. You know, you're talking about the Giant ball club. They have a real good ball club. I think sometimes they're a little bit impatient with their pitchers.
Okay. Kevin Bass takes a ball.
They got some dynamite in the middle of this lineup. Of course, they've struggled with injuries this year. But they you know, when we read the press notes, they like to promote the fact that there's been so many roster changes.
It seems like for the past 3 seasons, even in the season that they won the championship, won the pennant in the National League, that they had those same problems.
I think teams today are less patient with players than in years gone by, and yet they should be more patient because you see more young players getting into the big leagues.
That's true. There's a strike by Alejandro. 2 balls, 1 strike.
It's tough to be patient, though, if you're a manager, because your job depends on it.
Jobs are on the line. This is the big leagues. And you're ready. Strike called. Bass surprised by the call of home plate umpire Greg Bonet, but it will stand.
Here in San Francisco, they've been calling for the lynching. I guess one columnist called for lynching of Roger Craig, a guy named Glenn Dickey, who's been a columnist out here for many, many years.
Little topper down the first baseline, staying foul. While we have a chance here, folks, I'd like to say that the family of Budweiser beers is proud of all the friendships they've helped make. So when they remind you to know when to say when, it's all in the name of friendship.
Here's Roger Craig right there.
Bob Lillis to his right. That has been a pretty good duet.
Yeah, Roger Craig has done a good job as a manager. I can't believe that all of a sudden, because the Giants are 11 games out, they want him fired. That's a lot of baloney.
In the game of baseball, it's almost tradition is what have you done for me lately?
Well, Walter Alston did some good things and not so good.
He lasted a long time and had a lot of championship units. Strike 3 called. Bass takes that fastball in the inside corner. He whaps the bat on the ground a few times. Either he didn't like the call or he knew that Alejandro Pena beat him.
I think it's the latter. Take a look. That's a pretty good pitch right there. A pretty good pitch for a left-hander to swing at, really. And Kevin Bass not happy. Obviously, he had to have breaking ball in his mind, even though it was a situation where you geared for the fastball and tried to adjust.
Will Clark at the plate, waiting on Pena. Fly ball, center field. Boston waiting. And Pena has a good first inning. After 7 on the Sherwin-Williams scoreboard, it's the Giants 7 and the Mets 4.
Looking at Felder, who has now moved into right field for Kevin Bass. McReynolds waiting. It's the first pitch, gets jammed, coming hard, and making the play is Kevin Mitchell.
By the way, while we have a moment, I want to congratulate a young lady who does a fine job producing Devils hockey. And she produces the Pin and Chase and also Mad Dog Live. We were talking about it with Chris before. Jackie Lyons. Jackie giving birth to a young lady, a little girl, Samantha Kate. So congratulations to Jackie Lyons and her husband Roy on a big day.
Has to be.
Oh, this young lady's a very proficient producer and an absolute sweetheart. But we don't tell her that.
Howard Johnson takes strike 1.
Imagine trying to produce a show I'm doing and also producing a show with Mad Dog. She lives in a rubber room during the week. What are you looking at?
Johnson taking ball 1. One ball, 1 strike.
You need some help? We have no secrets up here. It was a fly to left field.
I got it.
Okay.
Between the 85 interruptions you've laid on me here, I don't know where I was. Howard Johnson fouls one right off the mask, it looked like, of Terry Kennedy. Oof.
Terry has had that happen many, many times. There's a foul ball.
One ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. We're in the top of the 8th inning. That's trailing 7-4. We'll be right back with you tomorrow with the day game, exclusively right here on Sports Channel. Up and in, 2-2. Wally Whitehurst going for win number 6 against Trevor Wilson. Will also be going for win number 6.
And the Mad Dog will join us again for the middle 3 innings. He'll also be in the pregame show.
Line shot, base hit to right field for Hojo. Second hit in the game for Howard.
And Howard Johnson turning on this pitch. Quick bat. Strong. Got it all.
Actually has a chance this year to hit that 30-30 club again.
How about this? You got one of the most loquacious players in the business playing first base and one of the more quiet players in the business on first. Who do you think's dominating that conversation?
Not much being said right now.
Hard ground ball, double play. Look-alike here. 6-4-3. Uribe started it well. Thompson turned it. And the Mets are out of the inning. So after 7.5 innings on the Sherwin-Williams scoreboard, the Giants still lead the Mets 7-4. Fans, get out those trusty cameras because it's time for the 1991 Kodak New York Mets photo contest. You can enter your Kodak pictures in any one of 4 categories. The grand prize winner will be named the official Kodak Mets Photographer of the Day and will shoot batting practice and sit in the photo box throughout the game. Plus, 4 semifinal winners will have their pictures placed in the 1992 Mets yearbook. Look for details wherever Kodak film and batteries are sold or at Shea Stadium. The 1991 Kodak New York Mets photo contest. Enter today.
Hey, man, fans, get those creative juices flowing because Emerson Banner Day is coming on Sunday, August 4th. Prior to the 3:10 p.m. game against the Cubs, the traditional Banner Day parade will take place on the field. Winning banners will be awarded prizes courtesy of Emerson Radio. Call Ticketmaster at 718-507-0303 to charge tickets, or 718-507-TIXX for more information. Join the celebration today.
Decent crowd out actually tonight for such a cold night in the month of July. Kevin Mitchell, Matt Williams, and Robbie Thompson will face the Mets. Bottom of the 8th inning, Mets trailing 7-4. Mets with one more game in this series. I told you it's a day game tomorrow.
These are the sports highlights from tomorrow's edition of the News Sports section of the New York Times. And they're off at Saratoga. For Yanks, patience is now the boss. Storm in the Alps for Tour de France racers. How about that storm, Rusty?
It's not good when you're on a bike. Line shot right back through the box. Kevin Mitchell, another hit in his ball game, and Alejandro Pena saying, whew. I'm glad it didn't hit me. That is a rope back through the box.
Well, Kevin used to struggle against Pena, but no more. Hit a home run, beat him last year. Here's a line drive right back up the middle. That's why it's tough to go with those stats. Those things change so much. One at bat can change your career against a guy. All of a sudden you get comfortable at the plate. Forget that computer nonsense.
I have to disagree. I think the computer can help you from time to time. I don't think you have to live by it.
Forget the computer. Keep the computer out of the game.
It's always good to have information instead of ignorance.
I agree with you.
Matt Williams looking down at Bill Fahey, giving the signs. It's just as if the game was 3-0. An insurance run now means a great deal to Roger Craig and his ball club. He's not going to be bunting with Matt Williams at the plate, though. He's looking for the long ball. Breaking ball, stays up and in. A ball and no strikes. Mitchell, after the knee operation, no threat to run. Outfield deep, as they should be for Matt Williams. Pena working to Sasser. Fly ball center field. Boston's there, drifting back. Whoa, the ball really reacted funny. He reached out, but he's so strong that ball really took off. There had to be a gust of wind out there, Francis.
Yes, there was, and you could see Matt Williams reaching for that ball. Now watch him take his hand off the bat. That's not like Matt Williams. Now watch Boston Wynn really playing tricks with that ball.
You can't relax in the outfield here. If you start assuming success, you can be in a heap of trouble. The old conditions and the way you should handle them, it's very basic. The wind is blowing out. Catch the ball around your chest. Therefore, there's a mistake. You have some room for error. There's a strike to Robbie Thompson. The gust of wind around home plate swirling those pieces of tissue.
Those are hot dog wrappers, I believe. Wow, look at this. You believe it? The hot dog wrappers flying all over the joint. You better have good concentration if you're going to play your whole career here.
Swing and a miss by Thompson. One ball, or no balls, and 2 strikes.
See a lot of hitters over the course of your career, if you're catching, they're distracted by a lot of things. Could be just a little tiny piece of paper between the pitcher and the catcher, and the hitter will go out and pick it up. How'd you like the bat here?
You have to learn to deal with the elements. There's some special elements here at the stick. Up and away. Thompson not going outside of his zone. He really strikes out a lot.
I can tell you right now, Rusty, if you were batting and playing your whole career here, you'd be complaining. You'd say, forget these elements.
You got to go with what's there. Fouled off, straight back, out of play.
Thompson with 56 strikeouts on the season. At one point was used as a leadoff hitter, then as a two-hole hitter, and struck out more than 100 times, more than once. Last year, he stopped at 96. Popped up, shallow left field. Boston coming in. They're both calling for it, and McReynolds almost runs into Boston. Tough ballpark.
When the game started, Kevin McReynolds was playing center field, so he had that take charge attitude when the game started. I guess he carried it over to left field.
Here's the play.
Darryl Boston calling for it, Kevin McReynolds calling for it, and at the last moment, Darryl Boston grabbing the ball and McReynolds getting out of his way, or trying to get out of his way.
The mistake was that McReynolds did not check the center fielder and play off of him. With the wind blowing and gusting as it is here, you don't like to take your eye off the ball, but you have to know where the other outfielders are. Swing and a miss. Good fastball that time by Pena.
Terry Kennedy 0 for 3. Was thrown out at first base on a fine play made by Jeffries when he was in the game. Jeffries left the game on a double switch when Pena came in. Miller's playing at second. Oh, ball way in front of home plate. Sasser did a fine job to just get his body on that ball. Wow.
Nice job, Sasser. Good job.
Sasser now going out to the mound saying, I don't know how you held that one, but don't hold it like that again.
And Mackey trying to block that ball, trying to keep the ball in front of him. A tough play for Mackey Sasser. When the ball bounces that far out in front of home plate, it's tough to anticipate the hop. It's really not easy to anticipate the bounce off of a curveball, but you do have some kind of an idea. But when it's way out in front of the plate like that, you're just guessing. You're hoping you keep the ball in front of you.
Mitchell now at second. Kennedy fouls it straight back. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Giants leading 7-4, bottom of the 8th inning. Mitchell with a very conservative lead at second. Now he's walking off a little. Down and in, 2-2. When you have Jose Uribe and the pitcher coming up after, and you're the 7-hole hitter, you have to be a little more aggressive. You have to look for the tough pitches and try to hit the tough pitches. There's Uribe hitting less than 200 and the pitcher following. And he does. It's a line drive. Coming in is Miller. It wasn't Miller, it was McReynolds. That ball falling in, Kevin knocked it down, and Kennedy did just that. With a tough pitch the opposite way, drove in the 8th run for the San Francisco Giants.
And as Rusty mentioned a few moments ago, a big insurance run for the Giants. Here it is, Kennedy going the other way. The ball just falling in front of Kevin McReynolds.
You see McReynolds coming in, thought he might get to that ball. It got down in a hurry, then he tried to block it. He did. Mitchell scoring easily. Uribe takes a strike. That RBI for Terry Kennedy. RBI number 10 on the season. Mets shading Uribe a little bit to left, maybe playing him a little bit too deep. He hits the ball about as good as he can. A little fly ball to center. Boston has it. The Giants score 1 in the bottom of the 8th inning, and they now lead the Mets 8-4. We'll be back. Up in the 9th inning, and John Burkett, who was on the ropes a couple of times, still in the ball game for the Giants. It'll be Sasser, followed by Templeton and the pinch hitter. Actually, Darryl Boston will be in that number 9 slot on that double switch.
By the way, Rusty, Kelvin Torve will be optioned to the minor leagues after the game, and Vince Coleman will be activated.
Not good news for Torve, but good news that Coleman is going to be back inactive. Sasser taking a ball outside, even though he's a free swinger. Mets trailing by 4, top of the 9th. Mackey should let him throw a strike before he starts hacking. It's 0-2 now. 2 balls, no strikes. You don't have to look at a third base coach as he is right now to get help. You should just automatically do that. He does not, and he pops it up. That's not good baseball. 2-0 count with the pitcher throwing 2 balls to start the inning off. You let him off the hook when you do that. I just don't understand that, Francis.
Well, I'll tell you what, Rusty, I know what you're thinking about, and I know what you're talking about. On that 2-0 pitch, though, I think Mackey's going to get a decent pitch, if it's a strike, to hit.
No, saw what happened. I'm not trying to set that example.
I agree with you. I agree.
You took the pressure off that guy.
I agree with you.
So he threw a strike. It's 2 balls and a strike. He's still not in bad shape.
Once you allow that pitcher to throw a strike, he can work on it.
0-2 now to Templeton.
But the book says take it and make the pitcher work. I don't agree with the book.
Ball way in front of home plate. Derek Kennedy makes a nice play. A ball and 2 strikes. Where is that book? I want to find that book.
Who wrote that book?
I don't know. A family member of yours?
I think I had something to do with it.
Pitch inside. Templeton takes it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I think more so today than ever before, the baseball book is being questioned.
Yes. Breaking ball for ball 3. Full count now. It used to be that if a club was behind by 3 or 4 runs, they would never steal. That's a thing of the past. Templeton fouls that one off out of play.
That was the first blatant break with tradition. That's why I'm not a big believer in 2-0 taking a pitch. Because I know as a catcher, if you get that pitcher in the groove, he throws that strike, gives him a little confidence. That 2-0 pitch, if it's a strike, and this guy's a major league hitter and should know the strike zone, he'll probably get a better pitch on that 2-0 pitch than he will in the rest of the at-bat.
Should take that pitch.
I'm going to reach over and just slap you so hard.
Popped up. Charging from center is Lewis. And everybody backs off. And he has it for the 2nd out. In the top of the 9th inning. Mets down to their last out. Darrell Boston, who came up to pinch hit in the top of the 7th inning, singled and scored the 4th run of the Mets on a double by Keith Miller. Everybody on the right side shifted a little bit to the right. Mitchell playing him down the left field line and deep. Why would you not challenge right now? We've talked about this so many times. You hit by 4. You're not worried about the ball going over your head. Much better chance for the ball to fall in front of you. Just the little details. They add up over the course of a season. John Burkett doing a fine job. I think that everybody in the ballpark, including John Burkett, thought he was going to be out of this game 2 different occasions. But he has battled long and hard. 2 balls, 1 strike, 2 down, and a top of the 9th inning. 1 out away from a victory. Thompson has it. The victory is his and the San Francisco Giants. 7th win of the season for John Burkett. A gutsy performance by the young pitcher. New York Mets now losing the first 2 games of this road trip out on the West Coast. Tomorrow they'll have a chance in a day game. It'll be Wally Whitehurst against Trevor Wilson. The Giants go out and congratulate themselves. The Mets will take that long walk across the field to the clubhouse. Fran and I will be back in just a minute.
Tomorrow on Sports Channel, the action heats up with a daytime slugfest as the Mets battle Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, and the San Francisco Giants. The Mets versus the Giants, live tomorrow at 3:30, exclusively on Sports Channel.
Welcome back to Candlestick Park in San Francisco, California. I'm Fran Healy, along with Rusty Staub, our special guest Christopher Mad Dog Russo, and our colleague Ralph Kiner on assignment. And a tough night for the Mets because the Pirates get beat. The Pirates won.
The Pirates won, the Mets lost. David Cone struggled early, gave up 7 runs in the first 2 innings, settled down a little bit, struck 7 people out, but it was not a good outing. Back-to-back outings, very difficult outings for David Cone. You got to give the Giants credit. They have now won 4 in a row. They're a good ball club, and the Mets are going to have to come out here tomorrow in a day game and try to turn this thing around. They don't want to get off to an 0-3 start on this West Coast caper.
Yeah, we will give the Giants credit, but the big thing is the Pirates won their ball game. The Mets lost their ball game. The Mets now 5.5 behind the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Pirates were just playing outstanding baseball. But back to tonight's game, our Texaco star of the game is Kevin Mitchell, and congratulations to Kevin Mitchell. Hit a big home run. He smoked his ball over the left field fence. He was 3 for 4 in the evening. His first time up, he hit the home run. It just changed the atmosphere of the ball game. And he also had
our Budweiser play of the game, Francis. Here it is, bottom of the first inning, 1 man on, and after being knocked down by David Cone, a hard fastball up and in, looked like it woke him right up. Look how deep that ball is. That ball is way back there.
You don't see too many balls hit that far. That was his reaction to the his home run was a reaction to the knockdown pitch. So congratulations to Kevin.